Hello, Fantastic Beasts fans! Last Wizarding Wednesday, the filmmaker shared an intriguing image of the invitation to Newt Scamander's book launch for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. A party at Flourish and Blotts in Diagon Alley of the 1920s sounds like a ton of fun, but are there hidden hints in that invite? I'm Susan Chappell with Fantastic Secrets Behind Fantastic Beasts to bring you the clues. Join me and other Fantastic Beasts fans here on the Beast Chaser Forum as we uncover the secrets, discover what's coming first, and play along with Rowling's newest game. For their third peek behind the magical curtain of Fantastic Beasts 2, the filmmakers released this tantalizing photo. So many details to note, so much to think about, but where to start? Are the clues in the book titles in the background? Or the name of Newt's publisher? Or perhaps the date of the event? Let's look at all of them. The first part that caught my attention were the books in the background. With just a bit of research, I found that the Parker and Haswell book on the right probably referred to a very popular zoology textbook of the time. However, the guide to the British something on the left was a bit more confusing. I've put together a very flimsy theory of possible professional rivals with links to Karl Marx, who happens to be buried in the Highgate Cemetery mentioned in the last video. However, as the MARX link is a winding theory that could only play out in subtext, I don't want to spend much time on it here, and will instead direct you to comments I made in a discussion with vlog follower Chocolate Eyes beneath the last video. I'll link to it in the description below. What's really quite intriguing is the Obscurus reference on the invitation. We've known since 2001 that the publisher of Newt's books was Obscurus Books. However, over 16 years ago, Rowling might not have yet figured out what form the Obscurus and Obscurial would take in Newt's story. It now seems odd that a publisher would be named after a magical deadly parasite. So the fact that Obscurus Books is not somehow swept aside, but instead highlighted as a prominent detail means it must play a role in the plot. But as that ties into the next detail I want to point out, let's go there first. The date. Saturday, March 19th. From a quick calendar search, we know that the 19th fell on Saturday in 1927, just as we've been told the next film takes place. But what's really curious about this date is that it's 3 months after the end of the main events of the first film, right when something very memorable occurs. As was first pointed out on Twitter by fan site FantasticBeastMovies.com in response to a tweet by another fan site, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them Films, the date of Newt's book release party matches up exactly with when Queenie goes to visit Jacob in his bakery. While Fantastic Beasts Movies excellently theorizes that she visits Jacob the day before the launch to take him to the party, I've got a few more ideas. And here is where we go back and add in the name of Newt's publisher with the launch date. Why have the publisher named Obscurus? Yes, I know, that was the name of the original pseudo-publisher in 2001. But there has to be a story reason if it's being brought into the film. From the title page of the original book, notice the company logo for Obscurus Books. It's a crescent moon. Obscurus in Latin means either dark or secret or obscure. I think Rowling was originally using this word for its dark, secretive connotation, which, for a publisher for the hidden magical world, is appropriate. Later, when she was developing the film story, she decided to apply it to the hidden nature of the obscurial and the dark force of the parasitic Obscurus. But then, maybe, she was left with an oh crap moment. How was she to reconcile this former business name with something that now refers to a very dark magical parasite that kills children? A force so dangerous that the darkest wizard of this generation is seeking to capture and exploit it. One that is responsible for the near death of a troubled young man. What reason could Jo give to justify Newt's publisher sharing a name with such a creature? Unless it serves a new, higher purpose to the plot. Bear with me for a moment. I'm going to take you on a very speculative journey of what-ifs. What if, by the date of Newt's book launch, Grindelwald has made his escape from prison? And what if Newt is aware that Credence has survived, but has completely disappeared? And what if he fears that Grindelwald has gone in search of the powerful Obscurial? How can Newt possibly hope to protect Credence when he doesn't know where to find either of them? So, what if Newt persuades his publisher to adopt the name Obscurus Books and publicize the launch widely in order to lure Grindelwald in? That title alone would definitely catch Grindelwald's attention. For this scenario, I'm strongly reminded of Fleur and Bill's wedding. Joe could never write a lovely party scene without conflict. It just wouldn't do. Except, instead of the fall of the Ministry and Death Eaters invading the wedding, what if Newt has deliberately lured Grindelwald in and invited his brothers and new girlfriend's aura buddies to attend, to set a trap? And what if Grindelwald takes the bait, attending the event in disguise as someone quite beneath the radar, perhaps the chef catering the event? But where does Queenie seeking out Jacob fit into all this speculation? Is Jacob, a nomad, being brought to a wizarding party in the heart of magical London that may be a trap for the most powerful dark wizard of the age? Or is he being brought in to help clean up the ramifications of what happened? Because there will be ramifications. As this book launch scene likely occurs near the beginning of the movie, of course there's going to be a disaster and Grindelwald is not going to be caught. And now it's going to be even more crucial to get to Credence before Grindelwald does, because Grindelwald probably learned something from the disastrous encounter to add to his growing knowledge of the Obscurus. So what aid could only Jacob give? I've got a theory in 3 parts. 1. Jacob was bitten by the murtlap. Fans have long speculated that the lingering effects from this bite might be part of the reason why he recovers his memories. But pickled murtlap growth also protects against jinxes and curses, and anyone crossing Grindelwald will definitely be subjected to those. But there's more. Jacob also has knowledge that Tina and Queenie do not. Practical care of Newt's beast. While the sisters visited in Newt's case, Jacob spent quite a bit more time there. He helped Newt care for the animals, visiting each area of the magical menagerie. Furthermore, he protected the alchemy egg when it was being hatched. He helped recapture the rumpet, and the demigods clung to him when scared. Jacob probably has knowledge of these beasts second only to Newt. And what if Newt is missing as a result of the encounter with Grindelwald? Who is going to care for his beloved creatures? Finally, here's what I think is the most intriguing possibility. What if the team needs to infiltrate the magical Circus Arcanus to find Credence, who is hiding there in disguise, or in a newly regenerated form, as I discussed in a prior video, but they need to do so in such a way that does not tip Grindelwald or even Credence off. Grindelwald, from his former stint as Graves, is familiar not only with Newt and Tina, but may also know Queenie as the sisters shared an office. He doesn't know Jacob, though, nor does Credence. Is it possible that Queenie, in magical disguise, and Jacob will join the circus as a magical act? Queenie could be the perfect mind reader. Every respectable circus and freak show of the time had one. And Jacob her audience stooge. This is a lot of what-ifs and speculation, but I'm convinced the naming of Newt's publisher as Obscurus Books will not be treated lightly. And one last thing, how is Jacob going to get to Europe, especially if he needs to do so quickly, and apparating that far is not possible? Might I suggest his alchemy? I have a whole video based on the significance of Newt calling the alchemy Jacob protected as his. And since I published that video, some concept art from the first film was released showing a person riding one. Perhaps Jacob and Queenie will have a terrifying flight across the Atlantic on board Alchemy Air. Some of the images I used in this video are from the newly released illustrated edition of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It's quite spectacular. I've provided a link in the description below if you want to check it out. So what do you think? Will Grindelwald crash Newt's release party? Will Queenie and Jacob join the circus? Please share your thoughts in the comments and be sure to subscribe. We hope to get a title for the second movie soon, and I will definitely be covering it here. Also, don't forget to check out my Fantastic Secrets Behind Fantastic Beasts or A Writer's Guide to Harry Potter at Amazon or your local bookseller.